I never imagined my own family would try to keep me from my father's 60th birthday, but there I was, standing outside the Grand Azure, facing off with my sister Meline as she blocked the entrance like a bouncer in couture. Behind her, the hotel's opulent facade shimmered with glass and gold, a beautiful backdrop for an ugly moment. "You're joking," I said, adjusting the hem of my black dress, understated, elegant, and worth more than Meline's designer heels. Not that she had any idea. "He's my father too." Meline's lips curled into a smirk, perfectly painted and perfectly smug. "This isn't brunch at Applebee's, Catherine," she said, stretching the word exclusive like I'd never heard it before. "The tasting menu alone costs more than you probably earn in a month." She didn't know, of course, that I'd designed that menu, personally, with our Michelin-starred chef. She flipped her hair and glanced at her reflection in the glass door. "Anyway, Mom and Dad made it clear, this party's for successful people, people who won't embarrass the family." The irony stung. Just yesterday, I'd signed off on a $100 million expansion of the Grand Azure chain, and yet today, I was being told I didn't belong at my own hotel. 10 years ago, I'd walked away from the family accounting firm to build something of my own. My father had sneered, "No daughter of mine is going to be a glorified waitress." They'd all written me off, convinced I was chasing a fantasy, so I let them think that, let them believe I was just scraping by, working odd restaurant jobs. Meanwhile, I was quietly building Azure Hospitality into one of the most sought-after luxury brands in the world. 35-star hotels across 3 continents, and not one of them bore my family's name. "Catherine." My mother's voice snapped me out of the past. She appeared beside Meline, her expression cold and tight. "We discussed this," she said flatly. No, they had. I'd gotten a text that morning. "Don't come to Dad's birthday, it's at the Grand Azure, you can't afford it, don't embarrass us." I held up the envelope in my hand. I brought a gift. Inside was the deed to a villa in Tuscany, a Grand Azure private estate. I'd planned to give it to my father tonight, along with the truth. Meline snorted. "What is it, a gift card to Olive Garden?" She nudged Mom. Maybe she scraped together some tips to get him a sweater from Macy's. My mother's eyes scanned my simple black clutch, handcrafted in Florence, more expensive than Meline's car. "Still," she sneered. "Whatever it is, I'm sure your sister's gift is more appropriate," she said. "She just made junior partner, you know." Oh, I knew, just like I knew her firm was days away from signing a lease on one of my properties, a deal they needed badly, and could barely afford. "Meline's doing so well," Mom went on, her tone sweetening. "New house in the suburbs, a luxury SUV, a fiancé with an Ivy League degree and a real future." She gave me a once-over, her smile fading. "And you? Well, at least you're trying." I thought about my penthouse overlooking Central Park, my car collection, the jet that brought me here this morning. "Yes, Mom, I'm trying." "Speaking of trying," Meline added with a smirk, "that dress? You couldn't do better. This is the Grand Azure, not some truck stop diner." I ran a hand over the silk, black, flawless, custom-made by the same Paris designer who turned Meline down last season. Not that she knew that. "It's the best I could manage," I said softly. "Well," she sniffed, "you're not coming in. We reserved the entire VIP floor. It's for family and distinguished guests only," Meline said with a superior tilt of her chin. The VIP floor, my VIP floor. I'd personally overseen its redesign last year, selecting every piece of artwork, every marble tile, right down to the crystal chandelier that now sparkled behind the lobby doors. "And the distinguished guests are?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Oh, you wouldn't know them," my mother said, waving a dismissive hand. "The Andersons, they own that successful law firm. The Blackwoods, old man, you know, and Mr. Harrison from the bank, all very important people." I bit back a smile. Thomas Anderson leased 3 of my commercial properties. The Blackwoods had been groveling for an invite to my private resort in St. Bart's, and Mr. Harrison's bank was currently trying to secure a $200 million loan from my investment division. "Right," I said smoothly, "very important people." "Exactly," Meline crowed, proud of her grasp on social hierarchy. "So you can see why you can't be here. What would they think if they saw Dad's failure of a daughter serving their cocktails?" "Meline," our mother said in a soft chide, though her eyes sparkled with approval, "be kind. Catherine made her choices. If she'd stayed with the family firm, things would be Different. Yes, different, like still working out of a cramped office in one of my mid-tier properties, always one rent increase away from closing their doors. Just then, Charles, Meline's fiancé, appeared, adjusting his tie. What's going on? Everyone's waiting for. Oh, he spotted me and froze. Catherine, I didn't know you were invited. Clearly not, I said dryly. Charles just made vice president at his bank, my mother offered, puffing with pride. Junior vice president, I corrected gently. His title had crossed my desk last week in an internal report. I knew because we were acquiring that bank. Well, Meline snapped, that's still more impressive than whatever you're doing these days. What is it now? Assistant manager at, where was it, Applebee's? I thought of the boardroom I'd left that morning, the one with a skyline view and a 10-figure valuation deal on the table. The paperwork for acquiring Charles's bank was still upstairs, in my private office. Something like that, I replied with a faint smile. This is ridiculous, my mother said, exasperated. Catherine, please, just go. I'll tell your father you couldn't make it, or afford it. You mean, Meline chimed in with a laugh, wouldn't embarrass us. I looked past them, through the hotel's grand entrance. I saw the Italian marble floors I'd chosen, the cascading chandelier I'd imported, the art I'd selected from private collectors. All of it, every inch, was mine. For a fleeting moment, I considered walking away, let them bask in their ignorance, let them hold on to the comforting fiction they'd built around my absence. But then I remembered something my first mentor told me, success only matters if you're brave enough to own it. I took a breath, stood straighter. Actually, I said softly, I think I'll stay. Before my mother could answer, the glass doors parted with a hiss, and James, my head of security, stepped out, tall, poised, and calm, just like he'd been the day I bought my first hotel. Is everything all right, Madam Co? His voice was clear, professional, commanding. Your usual table is ready, and Chef Michel is waiting for your approval on the tasting menu. The silence was immediate and complete. Meline's mouth opened, then closed. My mother gripped the door handle like it might save her. Charles stared at me like I'd just grown wings. James, I said with an easy smile, perfect timing. My family was just explaining how I'm not welcome here. James blinked, confused. Ma'am, but, you own the entire hotel chain. Yes, I said, turning back to my family, I do. I paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Shall we go in? You've reserved the VIP floor, my VIP floor. Charles was the first to speak, his voice cracking. This is some kind of joke. You're a restaurant manager. Actually, James said, his tone still courteous. Miss Ko is the founder and CEO of Azure Hospitality Group. She owns all 35 Grand Azure hotels worldwide, along with our restaurant chains and resort properties. Meline's designer clutch hit the marble with a dull, expensive thud. But the Grand Azure is worth billions, she whispered. It is, I replied, which makes your comment about me not affording dinner rather amusing. I stepped past them into the hotel lobby, my lobby, where the staff immediately stood at attention. Good evening, Miss Catherine, called Sarah, my front desk manager. The executive suite is prepared for your father's birthday celebration. Thank you, Sarah. I turned to see my family still frozen in the doorway. Coming? They followed in stunned silence, eyes sweeping across the grand interior like they were seeing it for the first time. Staff greeted me by name, each with a warm deference that came not from fear, but earned loyalty. My mother finally found her voice. But your dress. Custom Parisian, around 30 grand, I think. I stopped checking price tags years ago. We reached the private elevator. I slid the key from my clutch, the one that unlocked access to the VIP floor. Unlike Meline's dress, I added lightly, which is a knockoff. The real Valentino collection hasn't dropped yet. I attended the private preview last month. The elevator opened directly into the lounge, where the birthday celebration was already underway. Conversation died the moment I stepped in. Catherine? My father rose from his seat at the head table, confusion spreading across his face. What are you doing here? Your mother said you couldn't afford it. I finished for him. I approached with an envelope in hand. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you don't mind me crashing the party, in my own hotel. He blinked. Your hotel? Before I could answer, Mr. Harrison from the bank stepped forward, relief flooding his features. Miss Catherine, I had no idea you were James Thompson's daughter. We've been trying to reach you for months about that loan application. Thomas Anderson's voice cut in from across the room. My God, you're that Catherine Coe, the one behind Azure Hospitality? My father dropped back into his chair, the blood draining from his face. All this time, we thought you were just a glorified waitress. I smiled, without warmth. Your words, from the day I left the family firm. My mother clutched her pearls, her voice sharp. But why wouldn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked, quietly. You didn't 10 years ago. You measured my worth in billable hours and compliance. So I stopped trying to earn your approval, and I built this instead. I gestured around the room. Now, by your standards, I suppose I'm more successful than anyone here. Meline dropped into a chair, pale. The villa in the south of France, she whispered, the one I couldn't book last summer. Mine, I said, just like the office building your firm's struggling to lease. Charles, and the resort membership you've been waitlisted for, also mine. Mother, Meline started, voice cracking. My father tried again, his voice unsteady. Catherine, save it, I said gently but firmly. I didn't come to gloat. I came because I'm tired of hiding my success to protect your pride. I turned to the crowd. Please, enjoy the party. Everything's on the house, my house. As I walked away, I paused. Oh, the envelope Meline refused to take. It's the deed to a villa in Tuscany, one of my most exclusive properties. It was meant to be a birthday gift, from your so-called failure of a daughter. The next hour was surreal. Suddenly, people who never gave me the time of day at family events were desperate to talk. The Blackwoods groveled for a resort membership. Mr. Harrison cornered me about his bank's loan. Meline's fiancé slipped out quietly, likely rethinking the value of their strategic engagement now that her firm was hanging by a lease thread. My mother oscillated between sobbing and telling anyone who'd listen that she always knew I had potential. And through it all, I remained calm, not triumphant, just whole. Later, I found my father alone on the terrace, staring at the skyline. Those buildings, he said, how many of them are yours? Enough, I replied, standing beside him, including the one housing the family firm. He nodded slowly. I was wrong about you, so wrong. Yes, I said, you were. He looked at me. Can you ever forgive us? I paused, not for effect, but for truth. Forgiveness isn't the issue, respect is. You never respected my choices. You only see value in success once it's undeniable, but by then, the damage is done. I smiled faintly. So yes, you can tell your friends your daughter owns the Grand Azure. I'm sure it'll impress them. And with that, I left him there, surrounded by everything he once believed I could never build. Tomorrow, the balance would shift. Meline was no longer the golden child. My mother would revise history. Charles would find himself out of a job and a relationship, and the firm that once deemed me an embarrassment would have no choice but to come to me, cap in hand. But tonight? Tonight, I stood tall, not for revenge. For myself.